This video is going to cover rationalizing the denominator. So fractions that contain surds in the denominator are known to have irrational denominators. These expressions may be rewritten with a rational denominator by multiplying both the numerator and the denominator by the surd that appears in the denominator. So that's important, that you need to multiply the top and the bottom by the surd. So this is known as rationalizing the denominator. So I'm going to do some examples here to show you how it's done. So first things first, as always, I like to rewrite my question. So here we know that we have a surd on the bottom, so that means that this is an irrational denominator. We want to make it rational, so we don't want any surds on the bottom. That is the goal. So to do that, we need to multiply the top and the bottom by the surd. Okay, so essentially what happens here is we go 3 root 5 times root 5, so I'm looking at the bottom this time. Alright, so that means the root 5 and the root 5 cancel out, because remember, root 5 times root 5 equals root 25, which is just 5. So essentially we're just cancelling out that surd. So on the bottom we're going to get 3 times 5. On the top we're going to get 7 times root 5, which is just 7 root 5. Alright. Next, we need to simplify this a little bit further because we have a 3 times 5. We can actually tidy that up and get 7 root 5 over 15. You then look if we can simplify that down any further. In this case, we can't, so that is our answer there. So here's another example. There's 1 over root 3. So again, we look at the bottom. This time there's 2 surds, but remember we're only ever multiply by the surd that's on the denominator or on the bottom of the fraction. So we're going to be multiplying this by root 3 and multiply it up here by root 3. So it might be good to remember that essentially this has brackets. Alright, so this becomes a binomial product. So we're going to have multiplications like this. Another way to rewrite the arrows to make it probably a little bit easier is go from the root sign, like that. So if I go from the top, we'll do the top long red arrow first, so root 3 times root 2. Remember, because they're both surds, we actually can multiply that, so 2 times 3 is 6, so we know we've got root 6 on top. We then have a negative here, so that means we're going to have a negative next. And then we have 1 times root 3, which is just 1 root 3, so root 3. On the bottom, we get root 3 times root 3, which remember, before that cancels out the root symbol, so we're left with 3. Alright, and that's all there is to that one. So as you can see, it's not too complicated. Take your time with these, especially with the more complex fractions, to not make simple mistakes. So we'll do a quick recap. To rationalize the denominator, remember we multiply the numerator and the denominator by the surd that appears in the denominator. So to say that again, we multiply the top and the bottom of the fraction by the surd that appears in the bottom. Alright. Now it can be helpful to draw multiplication arrows, as you saw with my last one, where we have when we have more complex fractions, as these help us to avoid some really simple mistakes. So feel free to draw your arrows. If you don't want to, you don't have to. I just find it helps me to process some of those things and not make those little mistakes.